So you want to make manga like your boy, publish worldwide, and you want to know some of the best books that will help you on your journey, both from a narrative and visual standpoint. In this video, I'm going to share with you 4 essential books that tell you everything you need to know about making manga like a pro. Obviously, there are many books that you can choose from. There are many good ones out there. So these are books that I've come across that I think are very valuable, but also books that I think are essential. Like if you have these, you don't really need anything else. First book on the list, Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud. I don't care if you're making Western comics, international stuff, Japanese manga, non-Japanese manga, it doesn't matter. This is a must-have. I actually had this book and was recommended this book by a professor. So this was after I was already making comics, and I still found a lot of the stuff in here extremely valuable. It's essentially a comic that teaches you about making comics, and it's literally one of the best. So there's a lot of manga theory, manga comics, same stuff, bro, same stuff. But it teaches you the essential. Like even here, you must read this book by Neil Gaiman. Do you know who Neil Gaiman is? You might not want to Google Neil Gaiman in this very moment. But Neil Gaiman knows his stuff. We don't talk about that. I mean, we do, it's important. But yeah, Understanding Comics, the Invisible Art. Scott McCloud is a key figure in the world of comics, and after going through this book, it shows. I remember the first time I went through this book was like probably 2017-ish during my master's, where I did a concentration in manga, actually, which is pretty cool because my major professor was a big anime and manga fan from Japan too. Or at least he was Japanese. He's American, but he's Japanese. Everything about this book was solid, but one of the best things that stood out was how to kind of transition from panel to panel and the different ways you can transition from panel to panel, how you kind of think about it frame by frame, action to action. Kind of breaks down the gutter stuff, like the spaces in between the panels, why they're there, what they mean, even some philosophical stuff about, you know, what you see and what you don't see and how we even view the world. I don't know, it's really complex, but it's a really good book. It doesn't matter what type of comic you're making. It will kind of help you in your understanding of thinking about comics so that you can maneuver through any type of comic book, whether it be stuff from Japan or stuff from Korea, stuff that's more vertical scroll or page by page. It'll help you understand comics, make you more versatile, adaptable to whatever, and it's actually quite easy to understand. The fact that you learn while reading a comic, so it's definitely not boring. It explores different styles, different techniques to certain things, how to show and not tell, understanding time frames, color, the list goes on. You don't have to be a vet to understand what's being conveyed in this book. A beginner, a novice can pick this up and still follow. Neil Gaiman says if you read, write, teach, or draw comics, or if you simply want to watch a master explainer at work, you must read this book. Alan Moore, the best analysis of the medium that I've ever encountered. Will Eisner, person who the Eisner Awards are named after, and the Eisner Awards for comic books are essentially like the Oscars. Bravo, a landmark dissection and intellectual consideration of comics as a valid medium. Anyone interested in this literary form must read it. Everybody's telling you. Now I'm telling you, read it. Book 2, Manga in Theory and Practice by Araki, the creator of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. This is another solid book. It kind of puts you in the mind of a manga creator, especially one from Japan. Sometimes when I was reading this one, it almost felt a little bit like a diary, but then it still gives you some resources and gives you some information that's not easily findable anywhere else, giving you some insight as to what it's like being a creator in Japan, how important the first page of your manga is. And then there's a lot of technical stuff in here about how you structure your story, right? A 3-act structure is very popular here. And then you have some very more Japanese 4-act structures. All of this stuff is art, it's all subjective, but these are kind of telling you some rules, some basics, some principles, kind of knowing the rules before you get to break them. I believe the 4-act in this one is called Kisho Tenketsu, and I believe it's like broken down. Ki for intro, Sho for development, Ten for like a plot twist, and Tetsu for the conclusion. Again, it's subjective what these are. Even when you look at a 3-act structure, you see these very key moments in there, and then the key moments are broken down into 3 sections, right? In the Kisho Tenketsu, the show and the 10 could be kind of put together and treated as one act, or you can kind of move things around. The same way in a 3-act structure, you have all these pieces and you can move stuff around to form what you want, right? So if the 10 is a twist, right, and it's somewhere in the middle, there are a lot of times you have a twist that happens as soon as you open your story, and sometimes people like that, and that's what you want to do. So these are not necessarily rules that you have to follow to a T, but these are things that are worth knowing, and it kind of builds some confidence in your knowledge and gives gives you some tools to then kind of craft something completely fresh. This book also goes over like the hero's journey and how important the main character is and what their goals are. It goes over the types of goals that your characters can have, why they can have them. And I remember when I taught a manga class at the University of Texas at Arlington, this was during those years, I had my class actually read this book. I had them get it and read this book. I thought it was really valuable, especially because it was a very manga based class. And so it's kind of like understanding comics, but it's a little bit more straightforward. But though you have some original Araki illustrations inside, especially from his early work and kind of explaining his thought process and all of that. And obviously it's more Japanese. It's more focused on their culture and their way and their approach to making comics. Definitely worth getting. How to Draw the Verse Manga. This is your standard how to draw book, kind of going over the basics of how to draw. But the thing that sets this apart from a lot of how to draw books, and why I'm picking this one, I'm a little bit biased since I'm a contributor to this book as well, just to put that out there. But I think one of the things that makes this book stand out a lot is while it has some theory and it goes over the basics of how to draw, it touches on how to draw in different art styles, which a lot of how to draw books kind of don't know. Technically, they're just teaching you how to draw like them. While this one kind of encourages you to find your own art style, find your own artistic voice, and then also encourages you to think outside the box and be authentic to who you are in your diverse self, whether it be your art style, where you're from, all of that. Go over how to draw the head, some character design theories in here, how to draw different body types, different hairstyles, obviously, hairstyles that you would rarely find in any other how to draw book. Even goes over some tools, and just the visuals and the amount of tutorial stuff in here is endless. Different ways to draw eyes and how much freedom and fun you can have. I also think we did a great job with the visuals of the book. Shout out to Joshua Thomas, our lead designer on this book. He did a stellar job. So visually, I think this is the best book on the list, or it's one of the best books on the list. Dynamic facial expressions, more theory as to why we deem diversity important. But even if that's not important to you, trust me, this is still a valuable book. Drawing from different angles, drawing different facial expressions from different angles, like characters yelling. And as I mentioned, encouraging you to create your own characters. The art styles kind of range from very super serious, seinen, realistic approaches to more traditional, old school, big eyes, pointy nose stuff, and everything in between. Drawing muscular characters, aging characters from young to old, hands, feet, understanding the basic fundamentals of that so that you can then explore and branch out into drawing more complex hand gestures. It is endless. I think definitely if you're a beginner or novice, How to Draw the Verse Manga is a step in the right direction. I'm very proud of this book. Everybody on the Saturday AM team is very proud of this book and our contributions to make it what it is. And then finally, the last book on the list, Making Manga the Saturday AM Way, which is essentially a follow-up of the How to Draw the Verse Manga book, kind of like a part 2, but a lot more on the theory of generally manga creation overall. But here also we step into some more webtoony stuff, business stuff you have to understand if you're planning on self-publishing your work or you want to go a more traditional route, things to think about when putting your work together, how to lay out your page so that it's primed for print and you don't have to rework a lot of stuff. It's already ready to make sure you're doing it right the first time. Dealing with printers, costs. There's some great interviews here towards the end of the book from librarians to people in the business, talking about libraries, getting your books in libraries, anime producers talking about their experience there and giving some pointers as to what that road is like, getting your stuff from print, manga, all the way adapted into anime and how difficult as you can imagine that is. Also more interviews here with other manga creators, some from France who are highly talented. Again, the visuals, Joshua Thomas brought it again and they look amazing. More character design stuff building on what was talked about in the How to Draw the Verse Manga book while revisiting it briefly. So you don't need to get the How to Draw the Verse Manga book to know what's happening in this book. You can still just pick this one directly. Some original short story stuff that you can learn from, camera angles that you can use for your work, more discussions about manga as a whole, and kind of strengthening your understanding of, manga, comics, BD, everything there. So, introduction, what is manga, crafting your manga concept, developing characters, creating engaging layout, going from script to paneling, all that stuff, knowing what angles to choose and why you choose them, understanding some symbolism stuff for your literary works and why you make those decisions, bringing your manga to life, exploring techniques and adding dynamic effects, backgrounds that make your manga visually stunning. There's some cool stuff in here, how you take your pictures and convert those pictures into manga backgrounds seamlessly. Again, this is another book biased here. I contributed heavily to, as well as other Saturday AM creators. Printing, distribution, a section where you can test your might, like it's Mortal Kombat. There's stuff on here about pitching your series, how to pitch, what we look for, what other publishers and distributors look for, the importance of doing short stories and not trying to rush and do your grandiose thing. So this really gets into the mind of the new creator especially, but just creators as a whole. You don't have to be I think a professional can pick this and still find massive value in this. A lot more detailed into creating your protagonists, your villains. This is just generally a fun book if you want to kind of engulf yourself into that world of making manga that I'm sure most of you are in already, and get some really great tips, techniques, and insight. This book is for you. Even some 3D stuff, taking some 3D assets and converting them into manga pages through Clip Studio Paint or whatever manga software you're using. This book also has sick QR codes that you can use, and then you get access to exclusive videos giving way more insight, more exclusive content, more tips from people in the industry who've been doing this for years, all in this book, Making Manga the Saturday AM Way. We're really proud of this book as a follow-up, especially to How to Draw Diverse Manga. But like I said, these 4 books are really all you need, and they're a combination of our experience doing what we do, my experience just in general of all the information that I've gathered over the years. I found a lot of them here and found some new ones in here as well. So you might be able to pick up any of these books and find things that maybe even I glossed over or can't remember or just weren't able to get at the time. You might be able to pick up on some new, fresh ideas. See, storytelling, world building, layouts, like everything is in here. All the stuff that we've been talking about on this channel for years is kind of condensed in here as well. And then you're not just getting insight from just me, you're getting insight and experience from other creators, right? Again, similar with all the other how to draw books that are out there, whether it be visual or narrative, it's usually from a singular point of view. Here you're getting the point of view which is rich and diverse from a plethora of people. So sometimes I might even get conflicting ideas and why. Highly recommend these books: Understanding Comics, Manga in Theory and Practice, How to Draw Diverse Manga, and Making Manga the Saturday AM Way. Yes, I'm biased with the Saturday AM books, but I promise you, honestly, these are all you're gonna need. You can get other books. I'm sure there are other great books that are out there, but when I think of essentials, this is it. Can't go wrong with these. These are how I did these. For 2.5 people that made it to the end of this video, I thank you. I'll be giving away a free copy of Making Manga to a lucky person who subscribes to this channel, leaves a comment saying you want it, as well as why you want it, or what you look for in how to draw books in general. So yeah, subscribe, like the video, hit the bell, leave a comment, and then I'll reach out to one lucky person to give away a copy. Check out more videos. What are other books that you think are super valuable? You can leave them in the comments below. Read Apple Black on Webtoon. Support the Patreon. It goes a long way to helping production with the manga and YouTube videos. It's Whyt Manga, and I'm Audi 9000.